The version 5.8 first half banners are finally here, and we're going to talk about the 5 stars, the 4 stars, and the weapon banner to help you decide if they're worth wishing on for you. Welcome to Jello Impact, where we build and test every single character to help you decide who you want to wish for and build. When I'm clearing difficult content like in Stygian Onslaught, I can literally feel the lag when I try to go and switch. And I know I'm losing valuable seconds because of my ping. Fortunately for me, Gear Up Booster is here and it works, and it was actually an integral part of my Dire 6 clear with C0R1 characters. It is free to try and setup is extremely easy. Just open it, choose the game you're gonna play, and press boost. If you check the ping right now, we're at 90, and after relaunching while boosted from Gear Up, we are down to 67. So in my particular case, this is actually the breakpoint for an artifact set like Echoes of the Offering. So through using this service, I'm actually getting higher damage for one of my favorite characters. On the downside, I have to farm a whole new artifact set now. It is especially effective if you're playing a game from a different physical location from the server that you're on, and it is extremely secure, trusted by well-known creators, professional esports players for games such as Fortnite, League of Legends, and FIFA, as well as all their official partners, and of course enjoyed by millions of Genshin Impact players around the world. Please check out my link below, give it a try, and let me know how your ping was improved. Thanks to Gear Up Booster for sponsoring the channel once again, and thank you guys for watching. It's sponsors like these that allow me to get groceries for my family, so I really appreciate them. Starting off with Citlali, I do have a complete Citlali Ask Jello video coming out in just a couple of days, so make sure to subscribe if you want to see that. But basically, it's very simple. If you want to play melt teams, Citlali is 100% worth it. She has cryo application that is the most consistent, follows you around. She uses an amazing free-to-play weapon with Thrilling Tales of the Dragon Slayer. She provides, as we talked about, that all-important cryo resistance shred, 20%, but it is enough, as well as holding the Scroll of the Hero Cinder City artifact set, which is very potent. If other people are wearing it, she can go for other artifact options, such as Tenacity or Instructors. She also provides a shield, which is not extremely strong, but is at least something. And overall, if you were considering getting her for especially someone like Moika, Gaming, and Arlecchino, that is very much worth it. The only reservation I have is for the character Arlecchino, where some Nefa calcs are actually showing her overvape teams to be fairly similar to Melt. I don't expect it to be as good as Melt at launch, but when we get in Nefa's signature artifact set, depending on how powerful the artifact set is, it could potentially be possible that the team of Arlecchino, Yelan, Nefa, and Bennett is possibly even stronger than Arlecchino's Melt teams. I'm not saying it will be, but I'm saying if you want to make sure that that's not the case, just wait until we get the new artifact set leaks, which should be within the day or within 24 hours of getting Nefa live. That will also allow us to do actual testing with her. But if you do wish for Citlali and then Nefa ends up being slightly better, like, it's not going to be so much better that it's going to be a bad pull. Having different options for characters is good. In addition to that, Arlecchino with Citlali is a lot more flexible of the team for that final slot. Xilonen, Sucrose, Yansan have played well. Kazuha and AoE, they can all be a very competitive 4th slot for that Arlecchino team. Whereas for the Nefa team, you really do need that entire package of Yelan, Bennett, Nefa. Xingqiu, you're going to lose a bunch of DPS. Although it could possibly be Yelan's most comfortable team because Nefa's shield is quite a bit stronger than Citlali's. Also, the Melt team will have a much higher first rotation damage because Thrilling Tales doesn't always get activated for the second rotation. So if you can one rotate things, then Melt will even have a bigger advantage. But I digress. We can't know for absolute certain until the characters come out and we see Nefa's full artifact set, because right now she's just using Tenacity, which is a good artifact set, but it's not going to be as good as whatever she comes up with, most likely. So should you get Citlali? If for Melt, yes. Will she be power crept for Melt in Nod Cry? Anything is possible, but it is very unlikely. She is a dedicated Melt support, and she is significantly ahead of other Melt options, especially when you consider just the overall ease of use and quality of life, on top of the raw DPS potential being higher. I don't see us getting another Melt support in Nod Cry, but some people think we will, including some people think like Nicole will be a cryo Melt support coming happening in the end of Nod Cry, but that's already going to be an entire year from now. Are you really going to skip Citlali and not play Melt until maybe Nicole is a Cryo Melt support an entire year from now? That seems completely silly. So if you want to play Melt, if you want to play Arlecchino, Moika, Gaming, etc., get Citlali. Other characters. If you want to get Chaska, Citlali for Chaska, definitely go ahead and do that. That is going to be worth it. I do not recommend getting Citlali for any other purpose. I don't recommend getting her for Novelette. I don't recommend getting her for Skirk. If you happen to have her, she can be definitely used with Escoffier teams for those characters, but frankly, she's just not really an upgrade compared to other options and possibly even free options. For Novelette, kind of. But if you're going to wish for something on these banners for Novelette, it should be Inefa over Citlali. But yeah, Citlali is totally fine on freeze teams. She does boost Hydro, but I don't think she's worth it versus other options. For other Hydro teams, such as Mualani, she does interfere with Mualani's vapes, and for that reason, I do not like her with Mualani. Technically, Mualani's highest sheeting teams do include Citlali, but I have not been able to replicate consistent success with them. I much prefer Xilonen, Sucrose, and Moika, or a different Pyro, personally. So, should you get Citlali for your Melt? Yes. For Chaska? Yes. For other stuff? No, in my opinion. Inefa. When should you get Inefa? Well, right now, we're just not sure. There is no way to know for sure until we get her artifact set, until we get pre-release info again about Flynn's and Lauma. It could be that Inefa is like super best in slot with Flynn's and Lauma, and it could be a massive difference. I saw Zajef do some calculations where he tested what if Flynn's was an attack scaler, what if he was an EM scaler. If he was an EM scaler, it was a huge difference to not having Inefa. If not, Bennett was reasonably close. But there also could be other things, like maybe Lauma can be used with Flynn's and then you don't really need an Inefa, or maybe you kind of really want all three of them, which would be super scummy. But it's all so up in the air. I was going to make a Flynn's prediction video, but I realized we're going to get his information very soon. And until we at least know the artifact sets, until we at least know something, I don't want to make too much content on such an unknown character. Lauma I did, and I was kind of pretty much bang on as to what some of the preliminary information we're getting, but Lauma and I just have that connection, I guess. Right now, Inefa is looking like a very solid, potentially best in slot option for Novelette, but I don't recommend wishing for her for Novelette specifically just yet. Again, wait until we see those artifact sets in our testing. She's looking like a very competitive option for Arlecchino. She's going to be very good in the next Stygian Onslaught for Varesa teams, Cloran teams, although not close to best in slot for either of them yet. She should be best in slot with Raiden for Raiden Taser teams. This should be even better than her overloaded teams, Raidens. Inefa could end up being best in slot for Bloom teams. If you want to check out my full Inefa video, I already did an Inefa pre-release video where I discussed all of this in depth with teams tier lists and all of that sort of stuff. So you can definitely go check that out. Overall, Inefa is just a big wait. Just hold your horses, wait for testing. She's gonna be good. If you like her and you get her, she is going to be good. You're going to have a use for her. She's going to feel good. You're not gonna regret getting her if you like her, but if you're getting her just for meta, it's just wait. And as far as the 4 stars, I feel like 4 stars are becoming less and less important because it's so hard to rely on them to get Constellation 6 for the valuable ones. But 2 of the valuable ones from way back in the day are Xingqiu and Fischl, and they are right here. Both of them are very much still usable when you need a flex slot filled on your account. I'd say Fischl is generally a bit more useful, as nowadays Xingqiu's Hydro application is just not as useful as it once was. But I feel like a lot of people may not have Yelan these days, and so if you're wanting to play some Inefa stuff and you want to use Farina, keep using Farina with Skirk or Novelette, Xingqiu is going to be a very valuable character to have here, whether it's for that Arlecchino stuff we talked about or for Electrocharge like Taser stuff that I didn't really talk about in Inefa here, but it is definitely some of the stuff you can do with her. Fischl, obviously historically used in Electrocharge teams, although right now by far her best teams are going to be the Overload ones, especially with Arlecchino. Both Fischl and Xingqiu were very good in the Dendro era, and the Dendro era, just Hyper Bloom isn't as good as it once was, Aggravate isn't as good as it once was, and neither of them have really found their footing on a whole ton of new teams. However, I could see Dendro and all that kind of stuff making a comeback with Lauma, so getting some copies of them is quite good. Both of them have very good Constellation 6s. If you don't have Constellation 6, especially for Xingqiu, it can be a bit difficult to build him as he gets more energy, more damage. It's just a very valuable constellation. Fischl also gains a lot from her C6. And then Sethos, he's a very niche character, but he is quite good if you're willing to play what I feel like is a very cringe playstyle with walk cancel Sethos. If you really play well, he can be a decent carry, but he doesn't have any supportive potential. He's not off field. He's like again, another Dendro character that has fallen off, not really used in Electrocharge, although I could see like an FS Sethos stuff being at least comfortable. I mean, if you pull this banner, you do have like a banner, a team here at least, especially if you're new, clearing lower floors of the Abyss, you're not concerned with the top meta. You can put an Effa, Xingqiu, Fischl, and then maybe an Animo character and have a team that's going to carry you pretty far. I would say this is a very like new player friendly banner. Once you start trying to make meta teams, Fischl and Xingqiu start falling off. But if you're a new player, if you're entry and you end up getting high constellation of them, that can be fairly valuable. None of the banners are really particularly synergistic with Citlali. And I think that's fine because, again, most of the time these days, you're going to be wishing for 5 stars. The 4 stars are sort of incidental and kind of just a bonus. I don't recommend... It's not like the old days where 4 stars really were some of the best characters in the game. Nowadays, targeting 5 stars is the main thing, and then 4 stars are a bonus. And finally, for the weapon banner, this weapon banner is a big skip. Just overall, Citlali's weapon is nice in the fact that it's more consistent over multiple, like the 2 rotations than Thrilling Tales. On the first rotation, it's actually slightly worse, but it becomes better after the second rotation than Thrilling Tales. It's also better when you're switching non-conventionally, like Stygian Onslaught, where you're going back and forth between characters a bit more depending on the challenge. But overall, I highly do not recommend going for Citlali's weapon. Citlali's Constellation 2 is much better. Her Constellation 1 is quite bad. Her Constellation 2 is very good. That is the vertical investment you want to go for Citlali. Ineffa also has a good Constellation 1 and 2, but none of them are as strong as like main DPS C1 and C2, like Moika or Arlecchino, etc. Ineffa's weapon is extremely good for her. You can check out my full weapon chart for Ineffa in that Ineffa video. But as an off-field DPS, it's not as important for your off-field DPS to have a weapon. It is quite a good stat stick. After an elemental skill or burst is used, attack is increased by 24% for 20 seconds. So 24% attack plus a bunch of crit damage. I think it's 66 crit damage fully ascended. This is quite good. It's a very good stat stick. And if you create a shield, you'll gain electrifying Edict, and nearby party members deal more lunar charge damage. So this weapon could be very powerful as a buffing weapon for Flynn's. We don't know yet for sure. We don't know what Flynn's does, but presumably he'll do some lunar charge damage. And all nearby party members deal 40% more lunar charge damage. This could be a really big weapon for Flynn's teams, but again, let's just wait and see the calculations. I hate to be a broken record. We just don't know stuff, right? But if you're an Effa fan, you're gonna get... It's like, realistically, Flynn's is going to be an Electrocharge carry. An Effa is going to be best in slot with him. If, I know a lot of people are Flynn's enjoyers, you're not going to regret getting an Effa and her weapon for Flynn's. But hey, why not just wait a couple days, see the testing, see everything. The 4 stars, we've got Bone Spear, Bone Sword. Both of them are actually kind of okay. Another Strangling weapon, 30% energy recharge, decreases stamina climbing consumption and increases skill damage by 12%. After party members deal elemental skills, the equipping character's elemental skill damage increases. So it's a skill-based polearm. Actually, this could be good for Ineffa, but she doesn't really want energy recharge she doesn't want that much energy recharge. That's too much. And she doesn't do mainly skill damage. She does mainly lunar charge damage. So never mind. Polearm character that does primarily skill damage and wants ER. Sino, maybe? Emily. Could be a good Emily weapon. Escoffier. It's a pretty good weapon. It's good for Escoffier and Emily, but you're not going to get like super high refinements of it, but it might be a good stat stick if you end up with high refinements, but it's definitely not worth targeting. The Sturdy Bone is actually a pretty good weapon overall, but again, these 4 stars, you're not going to get high refinements of them. Most likely. And if you do, you're getting 5-star weapons. You're not going to be using these. That's the thing I hate about these exclusive 4-stars is they're like pretty good stat sticks. But like if you're a 5-star weapon enjoyer, you're not really ever going to be using them because you're not going to get them to high refinements and have them be worth using unless you're getting lots of 5-star weapons, in which case they're not very useful. So yeah, Favonius Bow, Favonius Codex, Sacrificial Greatsword, they're fine, but nothing to write home about. So overall, get for Melt. Wait and see. Probably skip, but wait and see. I mean, maybe Fractured Halo is OP for Flynn's stuff. So I'm really excited for Ineffa. I'm really excited. She has a lot of different unique stuff. I cooked some really unique and interesting things in my Anefa video. I talked about her and potential Sino and Eula setups and how they actually have quite a bit of synergy. I really think you might like that video, so go check it out right there. Not a lot of people watched it, but I think it's really creative, some of the stuff I came up with. So check that out. Subscribe if you want to see more, and if you don't want to do that, that is totally fine. Just watching the video has been more than enough. Take care. Bye for now.